I'm Denny, and this is Pretty Pains. After testing thousands of products over the years, meeting the most amazing founders, and working with incredible brands, I knew it was time to take a deeper dive into the makings of the brand and the people behind them. On this podcast, I'm having conversations with founders, innovators, industry shakers. We're talking startups, business, innovation, beauty, trends, and so much more. It's gonna be like gorilla.
I was just really frustrated because it felt like my hair wasn't growing. And then I started to Google, like, why doesn't black hair grow? We can speak quite explicitly about Mielle, which is a brand that had so much attention. And then everyone was ranting about the rosemary mint oil literally as soon as the products arrived. And I was like, that box can't go out. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't really know what I was doing at the beginning. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to work socials. And so we did have to lean into like, how can we be innovative online and how can we show up online? The good thing about lockdown for us was that a lot of people were finding out about Treasure Tress for the first time.
Treasure Tress, we know it as the online haircare monthly subscription service prioritizing women with textured hair. My next guest is all about building community and creating a safe space for women of color to thrive. She started this business from her bedroom with a mission to redefine hair care for Black women. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Treasure Tress, Jamelia Donaldson. Hi, Jamelia. Welcome to the podcast.
That is such a nice intro. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. How are you doing? Are you good?
I'm doing well, thank you. Really excited to be speaking with you. Your hair and your makeup looks incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. I had a wash day yesterday. I thought, okay, if I'm going to speak to the founder of Treasure Tress, I better wash my hair so it look presentable.
Love it. What did you use? What are your favorites?
Well, right now I discovered this gel called Mizani.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never actually used products from them before, but their gel is like a soft holding gel, which I like. I don't like it when like my curls are like super crunchy. So they're giving me soft curls for the meantime. And then Aveda, they have a curl gel that is super nice as well. So yeah, I'm just experimenting. And I think like this is literally what it is with natural hair, right? You just constantly try new things and see like what works, what doesn't work. But yeah. So yeah, that's where we are. Well, before we get into Treasure Tress and the brand that you built, I want to start off by finding out a little bit more about you, Jamelia, the woman behind the brand. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did we get here, sort of where you have Treasure Tress?
Yeah, so I always find it interesting when people say, tell me a bit about yourself, because I don't want to talk about like my professional self. So maybe I'll talk about my personal self.
Yeah.
I'm someone that absolutely loves traveling. I would say maybe I'm an ambivert. Like I'm not really an introvert, not really an extrovert, but I'm very extroverted around the people that I know and that I love and that I feel comfortable amongst. Otherwise, I'm actually quite quiet, which people are sometimes quite shocked about. As mentioned, I love traveling. It was a really big part of my childhood, and my mum always made it a top priority for us to travel. I always joke that we were never allowed to buy she was never going to buy us the latest trainers or the latest tracksuits, but she would always make sure that we went on holiday at half term.
Oh, that's really nice.
So that's really important to me. I'm married. My family's Jamaican. My dad moved back a few years ago. So it's been really nice to just see him enjoy his retirement. Born and raised in North London. Yeah, that's about it. I'm sure we'll get into like a few other things. But that's a nice intro, I would say.
Okay, so let's go back to sort of the early stages of Treasure Tress. How did the idea sort of come about? Like, did you always have an itch to start this incredible subscription box line? Like, how did it even come about?
Yeah, so there were a few different things that like pointed me in the direction of creating Treasure Tress. So the first thing was, growing up, I was always obsessed with hair. In primary school, in nursery, I used to get in trouble for not paying attention because I was always doing someone's hair. And then by the time I got to secondary school, I started to earn money from doing people's hair. So I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love doing hair. I can earn money, all great. And then I let it take the back seat while I focused on my studies. And then I remember getting to university or like that summer before uni, and I was just really frustrated because it felt like my hair wasn't growing. Like it would grow to like here and then break off without fail. And then I started to Google like, why doesn't black hair grow? which obviously isn't the truth. And I came across so many blogs of like American women, American creators who were like, your hair does grow, you need to deep condition it, you need to lay off the heat, you need to trim your ends, you need to drink lots of water, and you need to prioritize using products like deep conditioners, deep conditioning masks, moisturizing shampoos, clarifying shampoos. And it was like this whole new world for me because I always loved hair. I always loved products. I used to spend so much time reading the back of products as far as like, what are the ingredients? How do you use them? I always found it so interesting. And so that was one thing that led me to it, as far as being really curious about how I could take better care of my hair and create the right environment for it to thrive. The second thing was I've got two brothers. I've got an older brother, and he was expecting his first child, and she was a girl. She was going to be a girl. And the first thing I thought was, oh my goodness, I don't want her to grow up in the world and think that there's a problem with the way that she looks. I don't want her to think that her version of beauty isn't sufficient, because growing up, I genuinely felt like that. Because the references or the reference points that I had was like the Girl Talk magazine or MTV, and I definitely wasn't looking like the video vixens at 12. And equally, I wasn't looking like the cover girls on Girl Talk magazine. So it was like, how do I then put my beauty in context and understand that I actually am beautiful? And so I just remember thinking like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't hate her hair, and I hope that I can help make sure of that effectively. And the final missing piece was when I was in university, I had the opportunity to travel abroad and study abroad and gain some professional experience. And I undertook a marketing internship in Beijing. And while I was there, I lost my hair care products. This is like, I want to say like week 2. And I was like, okay. I was like, surely it's fine. Like, surely I can find something. And so I went across the road of our apartment, and there was a Russian supermarket. And I was like, I'm going to find something in here. Went down the cosmetics aisle, and I found like some really cheap Head and Shoulders conditioner. I found like a £1 equivalent of a £1 gel. And then I had to just make do with a shoe brush. That was the only thing closest to a bristle brush that I could find in that shop. And I was like, this shoe brush is going to have to help me style my hair, because I need to look half decent for the rest of this. And I didn't. And I don't think I have any photos from that trip anymore, which is really sad. I looked absolutely crazy. But that was the first time that it really hit home for me that if you are a Black or mixed race woman or someone with naturally textured hair and you don't live in the center of a major city in the Western world, then there's no hope for your hair care. And even if you do, there's no guarantee that you actually know how to take care of your hair, because for so long I didn't know how to. And so after Beijing, my next internship was in New York. And when I got to New York, I was like taken aback by the plethora, the quality, the number of Black owned brands and brands that cater to Black women really explicitly and really unapologetically. And I felt like that was something that was missing in marketing, for one. And two, our market just didn't have the range of products that we deserved. So all of those things combined, at the end of that internship, I made a promise to myself that once I got back to the UK, if there wasn't a subscription box for textured hair specifically, then I would create it. And the idea for a subscription box came from the fact that when I was in New York, there were literally subscription boxes for everything, from like dog food to sweets to makeup to hair to ties, literally everything. And I just felt like the market hair was missing that. So I made a promise to myself that when I got back, I was going to launch it. Didn't keep in mind the fact that I hadn't been earning money for like over a year now. So I had absolutely none. And so my first port of call was actually getting a role that paid as opposed to doing unpaid internships. So very long story short, I got a job in finance. And then that job in finance is the job that I was in when I decided to launch Treasure Tress officially.
Oh, right. Okay. So when you were working as you started TreasureTress, at what point did you stop working to just fully focus on TreasureTress?
Yeah, I think there was about an 8-month overlap whereby I was working, but I was also building Treasure Tress and trying to just figure out how to make this thing work.
And do you think that, like in business, because I feel like I speak to a few people who have businesses, and some either go full force in their business because they can't concentrate on like having a job and then do like splitting their time, or some are like, you know what, you have to have a job just to fall back on because you just never know.
I think that, like, with everything, it's down to personal circumstance and you have to exercise discernment. Because I remember I was talking to one of my uni friends when I was deciding to quit my full time job and run Treasure Tress full time. And I was like, "Where are you going to live?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm living with my parents. Like, I'm still staying at home." And he was like, "Oh, that's really fortunate. I can't do that because my parents don't live in the country." And that was the first time that it hit me that, like, oh wow, I actually possess a level of privilege that allows me to take that jump, whereas he didn't have that privilege to be able to take that jump. So I think it definitely comes down to personal circumstance, like what can you afford to do and how much are you willing to sacrifice as well, because you might not be able to afford to um quit your job because you live independently, but equally you might have sacrificed a lot so that you had a big safety net, which meant that you could pay your rent while you explore the entrepreneurial idea that you have. So I think it's really, I don't think there's one shoe fits all. I feel like Instagram would love to say like quit it all, go for it full force, give up everything, but in reality that's not how it works, because everyone's life, we all harness a different level of privilege and we all have different circumstances. So thankfully for me, I was able to stay at home for longer than I probably would have wanted so that I could launch the business. But in doing so, I didn't have to worry about, well, I definitely had to pay rent to my mum, but I didn't have to worry about like a landlord in a traditional sense. And you have to worry about independent bills and food. So that gave me a quality safety net that I really appreciate.
Yeah. So catering to the black hair care market, black women especially,
Yeah.
black women spend a lot of money on their hair products. Like,
Mhm.
why do you think we spend so much money on hair care?
I have a few different theories. One of them, I think, because historically, pre enslavement, it was a really natural, enjoyable, artistic way for us to express ourselves. Like hair has always been an adornment for us. Like it's almost like an accessory. It helps decorate our beauty, it helps amplify our beauty. So I feel like inherently it's something that we've always really, really enjoyed. Obviously, that got stripped away, and it's almost like now taking ownership of our beauty is us reclaiming our power in a lot of ways. I think in the Western world, it also has a lot to do with the fact that we don't meet the standard of beauty. And so it sounds really hypocritical me saying this because it would mean that I also play into this, but there's a level of beauty that we'll never actually achieve because we don't look like the mainstream idea of beauty. And so we probably do spend a lot more on grooming ourselves to be quote unquote presentable in this society versus if we existed somewhere else. And then there's another part of me that's like, we're just creative beings. Like we just love beauty. We love making things, we love transforming things. We love everything that we touch does become more beautiful and does become more valuable. And yeah, I think it's just our inherent magic, if I'm being completely honest. I think there's a few ways to look at it. We can look at it through the historical lens in that it was something that was stripped from us. So this is us reclaiming our power. There's also the side that's like societal pressures that tell black women that like white girls can do a messy bun and come to work fine. As a black
Yeah.
woman, you think of doing that. And then there's another part that's like, look, we're just creative, and beauty is a way that I like to express my creativity. And I know a lot of my friends do as well. So there's also that light-hearted opinion of
Yeah, and
things.
I mean, like with black hair obviously being like so deeply tied to identity, culture, self-expression, like when you're launching a business like Treasure Tress, is there a way to sort of tread around the sort of topic? Because I think hair is quite sensitive for black women. So is there a
Yes.
way to sort of tread around that, you know, to make sure that the right message is being put out there? Like, for instance, if you're doing an ad or something, like you don't want to say,
Yeah.
okay, this is the way you should wear your hair, for instance.
Mhm.
Because I think there's been like a lot of discourse online where, you know, especially when the natural hair movement just exploded, it was like, okay, well, if you want your curls to look like this, you should use this. But it's like,
Mm,
well, not everyone can achieve this type of curl. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
we have to be sensitive to the
for
fact
sure.
that not everybody
Yeah.
wants their hair to one look like this or can get their hair to look like this, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few things that as a brand at Treasure Trust we just don't do.
Yeah.
One of the things is reference hair typing. like we'll use it in conversations on a client side to just get a gauge of like where they are, how the products work, so on and so forth. But when we're speaking to our community and engaging with our customers, we don't use hair typing. And it's because there's something about it that just doesn't feel right. To me, it feels very much like a hierarchy. Like the higher up you are, um, on the hierarchy, like the number one spot belongs to straight hair, and then the number four spot belongs to kinky hair. And something about that just doesn't seem right to me. And I'm not at all claiming that that's what Andre Walker had in mind when he created it. I don't actually think that's the case. But the number system just doesn't sit well. So we avoid using it. And another question that we get a lot is, okay, this product works well for type 3 hair or for loose curls, but is this product doesn't work for me. Or we always get the question of, do you do different boxes based on different hair types? And it's probably not the best business option or business decision, but I always say no, because your hair will respond to a different product. One, dependent on how you use it. Your hair will either like or dislike a product. There's been so many curly girls who have found great joy using Aveda, using Aussie Moist, using brands that weren't typically even for Black women, but because they know how to use the product and they understand their hair, they're able to make the product work. So what I don't want is women counting themselves out of trying new products or having that really fun beauty experience because they just feel like, oh, this product is only for loose curls. Like, actually, no. If you've got thicker, denser hair, you can probably use it as well. You're just going to part your hair in smaller sections. You're going to use a bit more of the product. And maybe you're going to opt for a twist out rather than a wash and go. Or maybe you are going to do a wash and go, but you're going to use some heat to diffuse it. So I think that there's just different ways that we can use the same products. And I don't think it has to be as segregated as it could be by using the hair typing system, whereby it's like this type of product only works for this type of consumer or this type of hair.
No, I completely agree because I think like sometimes, especially like at the beginning of my natural hair journey, I was only sticking to brands that were Black owned because I thought, okay, they're the ones that know what's best for my hair. But since then, I've explored like across the board. I've used, white owned brands, whatever, and I found that actually it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be Black owned for it to work for your hair. You can just adapt whatever product to your hair needs. And I find that also the more you're in your hair and you do your hair,
absolutely,
a product starts to work for you, or you figure out how to use it best. Like, because there's products that I've used, and the first time I used it, I hated it for my hair. I was like, oh, it doesn't work. And then for some reason, I've gone through my stash again and I found it. And I'm like, okay, let's try this out. And it works all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, what did I do wrong the first time? So yeah, no, I definitely think it's about like exploring and just trying to, figure out what's best for your hair, etc.
Yeah, and that's what beauty is about. And I feel like by not allowing ourselves to do that, we do kind of count ourselves out of the beauty conversation. And it's also so much pressure. Like, what if we just let go just a little bit and experimented and tried the new products and tried the new hairstyles without any additional pressures and just enjoyed beauty the way that everyone else does?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's sort of the important thing about it. And I think that's the message that I get with Treasure Tress, that it's about just expressing yourself and enjoying products and trying new things. And I think, that's where hair care and beauty should go, rather than be like, okay, this is how you're supposed to look and you have to stick to that box. So in terms of the subscription boxes, can I pick what I want in my box, or is it like I'm tied to like a specific box that I'm going to get and it's a massive surprise, I don't know what I'm getting?
Yeah, so there's two forms. We have on our website a section called BYOB, Build Your Own Box. And the idea of that is for the customer, the curly customer that has some idea of what they want, or they're just curious about particular products and they don't like a surprise. So if you don't like a surprise, you can go on and literally select the shampoo that you want, the conditioner that you want, the leave-in that you want, the styling product, and then the accessory that you want. And then if you are up for the surprise, or you don't have like the capacity, the time, or the desire to dictate what you use, then we do our monthly boxes, which are surprise and delight. So every month we introduce you to a new range or a new lineup of products from a different brand or from a range of brands that ultimately fulfill all of your wash day needs. So there's no part of your wash day that is excluded or removed. So it makes sure that everything that you can take that box into the bathroom, do your thing from beginning of wash day to the end of your wash day.
Okay, well, I want to sort of touch on that a little bit in regards to controversy in the
Yes.
hair care world, and does it affect what goes into the box? So I think like over the years we've seen like some brands come under fire, like people claiming this, people claiming that, people claiming that. Does that affect you thinking, okay, maybe we would exclude it from the box for a couple of months, or is it more like, okay, I will add it until proven guilty? Like,
Yeah, no, definitely not the latter. I'm not adding it until proven guilty because I don't want to be proven guilty. But we can speak quite explicitly about Mael, which is a brand that had like so much attention. It's been a brand that we've been working with since 2016 was the first time we ever done a takeover box with Mael. And we were like I think probably one of the first places that women could try the brand and they absolutely fell in love with it. And then over the years, they were focusing very heavily on the US and then they were ready to do the UK. And we were like, brilliant, let's go. And then everyone was ranting about the rosemary mint oil. And we were like, brilliant, let's get something in. And then we got it in. And literally, as soon as the products arrived, the videos started to come out from consumers that were really concerned. And I was like, you can't make this up. We have to pull that box. That box can't go out. And so we had to pull that box, replace it with another brand, and have a really thorough sit down with the brand to say like, what is going on? What's the science behind it? What's the evidence? And what's the plan moving forward? I don't know when this episode's going to go out, but we actually have an event with them next week, Wednesday, which I would love for you to come to, where we tackle this really head on. But once we had all of those conversations, I was like, okay, cool. I'm confident for us to do this box. I don't want to include that product in particular, the rosemary mint oil. And I'm very impartial to oils personally anyway. I don't really use
same.
the rest of my team do, but I don't love oils. So I was like, I can take it or leave it. And I'd rather leave it. So we moved forward with the box and it was really, really well received. We did have like literally one or two customers reach out like, hey, I'm a little bit concerned. And we were able to say like, look, this is the science behind it. These are the products that we've included. This is why we've included these products. And equally, if you're not happy, fine, we'll swap it out for something else. Because I'm not going to force anyone to try it. But I do think it's really important to, one, do some investigation and have those really transparent conversations with the brand. And then for me personally, and this is probably more my emotional side, where Mayel is a Black female founded brand, I don't want to see that brand go down the drain. I don't want to see the founder get attacked. I don't want the reputation to be tarnished. And so for me, I felt like I had an invested interest in making sure that we're able to have a really transparent conversation around it. We're able to educate on how to use products that are strengthening and are protein based, which is not something that you can use every single day. And instead educate the consumer on it instead.
Yeah, exactly. And just on education, I actually, when the whole controversy came out, I had a long conversation with my sister because we always dissect like controversy online. We just do it privately, right? We're just like, offline. And we was talking about the whole, that people saying is doing this to their hair. And I was just saying, I think it's just an education thing. Like, I just think people don't understand their hair needs and they're using products that they think is supposed to do this. But if you're somebody who doesn't like your hair doesn't like protein, like me for instance, I know that a protein heavy based product is not going to work on my hair. But if you don't have that education of your hair and your hair needs, you're going to buy a product because it's working brilliantly for someone else's hair. You're going to be like, okay, why am I not seeing the results? So I do think it's just there is a lack of education, like within ourselves as well, like towards our hair. And also, I don't know, maybe brands need to put out more education. Like, okay, you know what? This is a protein based product. If you're protein sensitive, it's probably best to stay away from it. So yeah, I do think it's just, a knowledge thing and just.
I agree. And I think that social media is so powerful and so positive in so many ways, but equally it can have the opposite side and have the opposite effect. And where the popularity of the mint oil went wild and people saw it as like a quick fix to grow your hair overnight, which absolutely no product does that. No product is going to do that. I don't care what the claims are. So I think people then saw it and were like, oh my God, I can grow my hair overnight, started overusing it. And then sadly, social media also has the opposite effect in that if something negative is said, it also spreads like wildfire. And I mean, I'm not in anyone's bathrooms. I can't tell anyone that their experience with the brand is true or untrue. But what I can say is that there is a way that products are meant to be used, and you can overuse a product, and your hair can be sensitive to ingredients, and your scalp can be sensitive to ingredients. And so, yeah, it's just an educational piece, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And when like you're trying to sort of scale a subscription based business like yours,
Mhm.
is there like are there like challenges and obstacles that you've faced and you're like, oh wow, I didn't expect this? Like, is there like compliance issues? Because I know there are like products that can be sold in America that can't be sold in the UK. So has there been any situation where you've come across something that you thought you could sell here and then you're like, oh crap, like, that doesn't go against like the UK regulations?
Absolutely. And that's also another point that I didn't include with the Mael situation. Another thing that I need to remember to actually make this a point at the event next week, but I also want to make it clear that the UK compliancy laws are so strict. Like, the products that work or the products that are available in the US take so long to come to the UK because they have to go through so much refinement, so much inspection. They need to take a closer look at the ingredients. They need to reduce the concentration of certain ingredients. They need to relabel the products to make them sellable in the UK. And so that is something that I think we should always feel, I would say, somewhat more safe in this country versus America, because there are a lot of ingredients that fly in the US that would not fly in the UK. And then your question was about compliancy. I learned the hard way. At the beginning, I was like, yes, let's work with as many American brands as possible. Just send me the products to the warehouse. And then it got brought to my attention that, again, compliancy is a thing. And this was like really early days. I was just running on pure vibes and adrenaline. And I realized, okay,
I think you need that at the beginning, right? Just pure vibes.
absolutely. But I was like, I can't just be including brands that are available in Target in the US. Like, they actually need to go through a process to be considered in the UK. So now we've got a much more stringent process that says these are the requirements of the product in order to be able to be sold. So yeah, there's a process around that now, thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully. Yeah. Has there sort of been like any pivotal like points in your business journey that has changed the direction of your business? So like maybe like consumer buying habits or the pandemic or whatever. Like, has there been any sort of points where you're like, okay, we have to maybe navigate a different route now?
Oh, COVID is the first thing that comes to mind, because that was the ultimate wake up call, where it was like we'd done a lot of events pre-COVID, lots of business events actually, which I miss a bit and we need to bring back, where we were basically just talking about like how as Black women we can build businesses, scale businesses, so on and so forth. And we also just had like a lot of meetups in real life. Come to our office all the time, like just show up, spend the day there. And then COVID hit and we couldn't do events. We couldn't bring people together the way that we were used to. The team was scared to come to the office, let alone anyone else.
Yeah.
No one could come legally anyway. And so that was a really big wake up call as to like the way that we had been galvanized. Wow, I'm really tired. The way that we've been bringing our community together was not going to be the way that we could continue to do so during that period of time. And so we did have to lean into like, how can we be innovative online and how can we show up online? So a really good example is our pop-up shops. So the first one we ever had was in Peckham, on Peckham High Street. It was really well attended. There was like a massive queue down the road. And then from then we just kept doing it back to back. And then we were due to do one in the year that COVID first hit. And then we were like, we can't do this event. We can't have people together at that scale. And so we had to innovate and create an online experience. So we called it Treasure Tress Travels, because it was the moment in time when no one could travel. The PR gifts were suitcases that we sent to influencers filled with like hair, beauty, workout outfits, pajamas. And then we created a simulation where it was like you were booking a seat on the plane, but in reality you were booking your box and which products you wanted in your box. And we released like some videos that went viral for it. And it was, I think it was a demonstration of like the importance of being able to pivot and leverage your creativity, because we couldn't do what we had always done. And the good thing about lockdown for us was that a lot of people were finding out about Treasure Tress for the first time, because they needed somewhere to find, they needed a reliable and a trusted source to provide their hair care. So that was also something that came into play. So lockdown was definitely the ultimate test of creativity and pivoting.
Yeah, and in those sort of moments of dips, like for a business owner, how do you stay excited? Because I think, like, you know, when you're doing something by yourself, it can be extremely difficult to stay
Yeah.
motivated consistently. So when you have those moments of dips, like what is keeping you going?
To be fair, I've been pretty lucky. I think there was only probably like the first year while I was working full time, and then the time immediately after where I was working on it by myself. But since then, I've always had the support of a team, whether it was like an intern and a full time employee, or like the team that we have now. So that definitely helps. But I think the thing that keeps me going the most is the in real life opportunities to connect with customers. So when we have events, it's always a reminder of like, okay, this is actually worth it. Like the hard work is actually rewarding. We're actually making a difference. And if we can't have in real life, then staying close to socials, staying close to customer service, where you can see like the recommendations for improvement, but you can equally see people that are like, oh my God, love this box. This is the best thing ever. So glad I discovered this. My daughter absolutely loves her hair. Those are the ones that always get me. When it's like about a young girl or like a teen girl who's like figuring out her version of beauty, and we get a message to say that she loves the boxes, she looks forward to the surprise, she loves her hair. Those are the messages that are like, okay, this isn't in vain. And the inspiration that my niece provided to start the brand is continuing to pay dividends.
Yeah. I think Treasure Tress does a really good job at building community. Like there's always some sort of event going on. And I think at some point you had like the teen experience. So
Yeah.
in the beginning, when before you really built Treasure Tress out to be what it is today, how did you manage to sort of build a community? Did you build a community before, or was it sort of after? Then you're like, okay, we need to really gather a community here.
If I'm being completely honest, I didn't know what I was doing at the beginning.
Yeah.
On any front. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to start a business. I didn't know how to work socials. But I think what's really interesting about life and business in general is that you never know what you're picking up along your life's journey. So one of the things that I've always seen my mum do is bring women together. My mum's had a book club for probably like 15 to 20 years now. And so I'm used to like coming home and my front room being filled with Black women talking about books and life experiences. There's food, there's drinks, there's laughter. At the time as a teen, I found it so annoying. But as an adult, I can really appreciate like what she was doing. And equally, I'm really lucky to come from a group of friends who I've been friends with since I was like 2, who I see as literally like my blood sisters. So I know what it feels like to be a part of a sisterhood and to be a part of a community of women. And so when it came to building Treasure Tress, I guess it was in my subconscious to just bring women together and just bring people together behind a common cause. And that common cause was natural hair. So the first thing that I done was create an event, and I was like, hey, this is a mummy and me afternoon tea. Curly girls, curly mums, curly girls, come together. Bring your kids. We're going to have afternoon tea. And ironically, the brand was Maya Organics that we were talking about. That's the box that was that month. It was like, okay, cool. And then people were like, this is great. There's nothing like this in the UK. And I started to listen to what people were saying, and they were like, this feels like a sisterhood. Like, I love how unapologetically Black this brand is. Like, we speak about Black women. We're very vocal about the fact that we are Black women. We serve Black women. We serve a lot of women. We serve a lot of consumers, but there aren't enough spaces that speak to the Black British female the way that we do. And so that became a priority for us. So building community was almost an accident, but it was just my way of doing what I'd always seen, which was bring women together under a common cause and we will make something happen. And that's what happened with TT.
Yeah. No, I think it's amazing, and I think you've done that so well because I stalk the Instagram, and I'm like, oh my god, like it's good here, it's good. So just on the topic of natural hair, this is my personal opinion, but I guess you can shine some light as well. That I think that since the pandemic, there has been a little bit of a decline in the natural hair movement. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think prior to the pandemic, it was just like it was everywhere, right? Like you just couldn't escape
Yeah.
it on social media. It was like hashtag natural hair, hashtag curly hair, hashtag afro hair. But now I feel like the conversation is a little bit different because
Mm-hmm.
we kind of moved into, oh, actually, I don't really care about my natural hair. I just want to silk press it. I don't care about heat damage. I just want to silk press it. Like, where
Mm-hmm.
do you sort of see the natural hair movement going, and why do you think there was a dip?
I think lockdown was an interesting time. We had so many customers discover us. One, because they couldn't shop quality and trusted black hair products anywhere else. But two, because a lot of women big chopped. They were like, look, I can't go to the hairdressers. I don't even know what my hair looks like, but I can't do it, so I'm just going to chop it off. And then they began growing it out. I feel like I predicted the rise of the straight natural. I knew it was coming. And I feel like I knew it was coming because we were talking so much about relaxers, the health impact of relaxers. And I could it I feel like I noticed a trend in that women with natural hair were getting more comfortable using heat, which if I'm being honest, I absolutely love for us because I feel like when there's so many rules and there's so
Yeah,
many restrictions, it's like, can we just enjoy ourselves and
yeah,
switch it up? Like everyone else can switch it up except for us. Like, why can't we also play?
yeah.
So I'm not surprised by it. I think it's nice to see like the carefree black girl also be expressed in hair care because I feel like we should have the option. I'd be a hypocrite. I had a silk press earlier this week. Like, I silk pressed my hair last month and kept it straight for a month because I needed to trim my ends. But I'll be honest, I actually enjoyed it because I was like, oh wow, this is a different look. Like my outfits, I'm wearing the same clothes, but they look slightly different because my hair's different. I'm able to see my ends and the health of my hair really clearly.
Is it a
But
management thing? Do you feel like it's easier also to manage? And I think,
oh my gosh, that's why I kept it straight for a month because work was so busy and I was like, I don't have time to figure out if my braid out wants to braid out today.
yeah,
Like, I
I
just need to
know.
know that I can do two pin curls, take them down, fluff it out. So the ease and the quickness of it is important, but for me, it's not something I can adopt full time because one, my hair is really sensitive to heat, so I get heat damage really easily. Two, I can't own a brand like Treasure Tress and not
Yeah,
have.
exactly.
And three, again, the thing that's always in my mind is that when I was growing up, I equated straight hair with beauty. And as a teen, I felt like I was only pretty if my hair was straight. And I just don't want to lock myself back into that mindset. So it's really important that I have it, I enjoy it while it lasts, but like my default is always going to be natural hair. There's also been a rise in relaxers, which I also think is interesting because there's so many studies about the impacts of it. But again, I do think it goes back to black women just practicing their agency, and they're making like they know it's a risk and they're making the decision, which is like we can't if they're making an educated and informed decision. There's nothing that can be said. It's their decision. And again, I definitely empathize because in all areas of our life, we're so heavily policed. There must be one area where we can just do what we want to do for the sake of doing what we want to do. And for some women, it's like, I've always wanted a pixie. I'm cutting my hair, I'm relaxing it. When I get bored of this, I'm going to grow out my natural hair again. And I do despite and keeping in mind the risks of relaxers, I do still respect women that make that decision because as I said, like as black women, there's so many rules and regulations. Like surely we should be able to just do something for ourselves because we feel like it.
Yeah, and it is so hard. And also it is a mindset thing. Like, so for instance, like when I went natural, like to be fair, it wasn't really my intention to go natural. I had like broken
Mm.
up with my ex-boyfriend and I just wanted to shave my hair because that's what women do, right? We're like, "Rah, like let me do something super drastic so he doesn't find me attractive anymore." Like, you know, because I just wanted to be like completely not his type anymore. You know, I'm just like, You like long hair? I'm shaving it all off.
I like short hair.
Yeah. So like then obviously I found myself going natural. And I remember when I first became natural, it was like such a big thing to people like, why are you doing that? You're never gonna find a guy. Guys like long hair. And it came a lot from older generation as well. As well as even like my peers, like my workmates would be like, and these are like my black workmates, and like, why'd you do that to your hair? You look like Grace Jones. As if like it was Grace Jones is so insulting. So like, I think for me, like sticking with my natural hair was a way to prove that actually you can make your natural hair beautiful. You can adjust it to your lifestyle, make it suit your needs. And I'm still trying to convince my mum that it works. It works, but so I do think it's just sometimes it's a generation thing and it's a mindset thing where we're so stuck with this idea of beauty that we don't know how to differ from it. Like, okay, if you're doing something that's against it, like, how are you going to find a husband with natural hair? Like, I remember my mom used to say that to me at the beginning, like, no, men love beautiful, long, straight hair. And it's like, but you don't naturally have beautiful, long, straight hair. So what's going on here? But yeah, I do think that, it's such a complicated area with black hair and that we're still navigating and trying to make the best out of the situation and just trying to get to know our hair. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, I can understand why women would choose to go back to relaxed hair or they choose to straighten their hair. I guess it's a lifestyle thing as well. So whatever works for you currently is what you should focus on. But I think the focus should be more on health rather than anything. And I guess that's what Treasure is doing. It's like we're providing the products that will make your hair healthy, will make your hair flourish. So that's really good in that sense. But I wanted to go back a little bit to the beginning. So when you're creating a business like TreasureTress, did you completely bootstrap it? Did you have an investor or any? No, just...
No. And I would not do it this way again.
Would you go straight into like, give me some money, I need to start?
Absolutely. This is my track record. Now give me some money so I can do it. When I started Treasure, again, I didn't know. It sounds really naive, but I didn't know that you could get money from strangers for an idea that doesn't actually exist. Like, I thought that you had to create something, prove it worked, and then you could attract money. And then when I did realize, I did try to speak to some investors about it. And at the time, they were white investors. And their advice to me was to change Treasure Tress to make it a box that also includes women with straight hair. And that's the idea that they would support. And I said, I can't do that, sorry. Like, I wouldn't be motivated to get up in the morning. It's not actually an issue. Like, white women with straight hair do not struggle to find hair care products. They don't lack community. They don't lack representation. They don't lack positive media. And they don't lack community in the same way, or they don't value community or experience community in the same way. And probably experience rather than the other words that I said. But for me, I was like, that's not the issue. That's not the hill that I'm willing to die on. So I just left it and continued to build the business. And then before I knew it, we were like 6, 7, 8 years along. And I was like, well, may as well keep going.
And like so when you're doing everything by yourself and Treasure Tress is starting to make money, I think like where people struggle with when they're starting a business is like, okay, at what point do I take a cut? Like, what point do I pay myself? So at what point do you pay yourself?
I feel like it was probably like a year.
Okay.
I think by the time I took it full time, I had to pay myself because there was no other income.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that, sorry. So I did pay myself. By the first year, I was able to pay myself. It wasn't a salary that was competitive to the one that I had in finance at all.
Of course.
But again, it was a sacrifice that I was willing to make because I understood the significance of what I was building.
And so what advice, like for any sort of entrepreneur starting out who want to maybe start a hair care brand or company, what advice would you give to anyone starting out, especially like serving a niche market like black hair care?
I would say just start.
Just start, yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like because it's niche, there's going to be a lot of people that tell you that it's not worthwhile. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you that, oh, someone else can do that, or that's not a real issue. But if it's inherently an issue for you and you know it to be an issue, then I feel like you have to trust your instincts a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I think when you're bootstrapping and when you are community based, there is a competitive advantage that you have that big business doesn't have. And I think that you should leverage that the best way that you can, if I'm being honest. So I would say get started. I think on the flip side, you should also appreciate the limitations of it, because if you are serving a niche market in a country like the UK, there are some limits to it. And so I would just recommend thinking globally as quickly as possible.
Got you. Okay, well, we're coming to a close of the podcast, and I've got some closing questions for you. So obviously, I have to ask you, if you were creating your dream hair care box for yourself, what 3 products are you definitely putting in it?
Products, not brands, right?
Yeah, products, not brands.
Okay, I was going to say I can't get myself in trouble like that. A shampoo. I'm not skipping on a shampoo. I like the Pattern hydrating shampoo.
That's a good one.
Oh, Cream of Nature Argan Oil. I used that one like 2 days ago. Yeah, I'd say that those are probably my top ones.
Okay. And then, so what's the second product you're putting in?
I think I would actually leave the shampoo if I only had 3. I'm not going to lie. I would actually do a mask. As a conditioner.
Yeah.
And as far as masks go, mask or a deep conditioner, I love Pattern's Intensive Conditioner. Palmer's have this new amino bonding complex range, which is like a Olaplex dupe but more affordable. And the mask absolutely hits. So the mask for that. Olaplex, I like their mask. Amika, I like their mask.
Oh, I love Amika. They have some really good things, don't they?
They do.
Yeah,
Bread, I like their hair mask. Bleach London also have a great hair mask.
Oh, I didn't realise that Bleach London have hair masks. I don't know why I only associated them with bleached hair dyes.
Yeah, but they've got a condition, they've got a mask, and they've also got a serum. We've got the mask on our site. I don't think we have the serum on our site, but we have had it in our pop-ups, and they're really good.
Like, you must have like so many products. Like I'm thinking like I think I overconsume a little bit, but you must be like, oh my god, like what am I feeling like today?
This is my closet, so I have like clothes and then my cosmetics. Yeah. So the second drawer has hair, the first drawer has makeup, and then I've got a spare room next door with a whole chest of drawers filled with spare products.
Oh my god!
So when this runs low, I literally go next door and stack.
Is your place the place where people come to shop for haircare products? Because they're like, we're coming to Jamelia's house, give me a basket, please.
When I was moving, my friends were like, I was like, just come and just take what you need. Yeah. So they left with like bags of products. But it's like, yeah, when people come to stay, I like to give them like little gifts on their bed. Yeah. It's also a good opportunity for me to like have stuff that I can actually give to people. And Christmas, when I'm running low on stocking fillers, I can just go in the drawer and pull some.
Okay, what was the final product?
So I ditched the shampoo so that I could do a mask, a leave-in, and a gel.
And a gel, okay. And are you like a hard holding gel or soft holding gel, medium?
I love an edge control and gel duo.
Oh, wow.
So I like to go in with an edge control first, like to do my edges and to do hair, and then I'll go on with a gel to hold it.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like edge control throughout the whole.
Oh, no.
Okay, it's like I've never heard that combo. Oh, no. Oh, that's good. Because like something that I've tried a few times that my hair just can't agree with is the jelly, the hair jellies.
Oh, really?
I don't know why. I'm like, I see people use it and it looks amazing in their hair, and I try it, and it's like
I would expect that it would work on your hair.
It doesn't work. Like jellies do not work on my hair. I don't know why, but maybe I haven't found the right jelly. Like
there's the Cream of Nature flaxseed curling jelly is one that I was using this morning, and it is good. I feel like it does build up after a couple of days, so you do need to wash your hair. But when you want like moisture and definition, it's really good for that.
Yeah. Okay, I will try that for sure because I'm literally in the phase of like trying new gels like every month to see
Oh,
what's my
love it.
favorite gel. But yeah,
Have you tried curling custard?
um, yeah, custards don't work for me either.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why. It has to be like it just has to be just the regular gels, like
Like an eco styler.
like an eco styler, or yeah, the Mizani is just like a regular gel. But when it's like a jelly or a custard, I don't know. My hair's like, don't want you.
Fair.
Okay, so being a founder obviously comes with its stresses. What does
Mhm.
your self care routine look like to manage stress? Like, what's your favorite self care ritual that you do?
Wash day, first of
Wash
all.
day, yeah.
Washing my hair genuinely feels like, I don't know what it is. It just feels like I'm genuinely washing the stress away
Yeah.
when I'm out of the shower.
Let's say an entire day for you, or have you sort of reduced it to like X
No.
hours?
I mean, if it's a Saturday and I have the time, I will like wake up, pre-poo, shampoo, put a deep conditioner in, leave it while I clean, do work, do stuff around the house, like literally do the most, and then wash it out and then twist my hair, plait it, go to sleep. But then equally, like this week, I washed my hair in the night, deep conditioned it in the night, put it in twist, took them out in the morning, and then was good to go. So it doesn't have to be a full day for me. I do know how to make it shorter. So washing my hair is a big one. The gym is a big one, but sadly, it's always the first habit that slips as soon as it gets really
Yeah.
busy. So I feel like such a hypocrite even saying that. But I'm generally very active. I do a lot of walking and lifting and moving. So the gym, um, I like shopping. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
shopping.
Retail therapy is a good stress management.
It
Yeah,
is.
it
It
is.
is. And I would say like spending time with friends and family, but when I'm really stressed and overwhelmed, I don't want to talk to anyone. So I do need to like reclaim my energy first
Yeah,
before I'm
no,
able
I
to then
agree. Yeah,
speak with friends and family.
no, definitely. Oh, well, that's nice. Well, okay, parting advice. If
Mm.
actually, before we get to the parting advice, if you weren't doing this, if you weren't doing Treasure Tress, what would you be doing?
Oh. So I actually wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh,
That was
really?
what my career aspiration
Oh
was.
my gosh.
Yeah, but God definitely had other plans because nothing was going my way when I was trying to pursue my career in law. So if I had it my way, I would be a lawyer, but God had other plans. So here we are. Um, if I wasn't a lawyer, and if that didn't go to plan, well, it definitely didn't. But in the case that it didn't go to plan, I think I would otherwise. I feel like now I'm comfortable creating content, but it's only because of Treasure Tress that I'm comfortable creating
Yeah,
content. So as much as I'd like to say like I would like to express myself in that way, I probably wouldn't have the confidence to.
yeah.
So I like writing. Maybe I would do more like traditional marketing, maybe a traditional marketing role or like a creative direction type role.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, nice. I can't believe that you was going to be a lawyer. That would have been crazy, right?
Hmm.
It's just so crazy how the universe works. When like 1 minute you're like, oh, this is the set path for me, and then the next minute I'm like selling hair care online.
Actually, careful, plot twist.
Okay, and then parting advice, Jamelia, for anyone listening who is embarking, like we're coming into the new year, right? So I feel like new
Yeah.
year is the time for a new you, as they say, a new change.
Yes.
So for someone who is embarking on a new hair journey, what advice, what would you recommend that they do, or how should they tackle their hair care journey?
I mean, shameless plug, I would say start with
Oh,
Treasure
what a
Tress
trash!
because
Box was sure.
yeah, because it allows you to try new
Yeah.
products without breaking the bank and without having to leave your house. But equally, you're invited into a community whereby you can swap tricks and tips with other people. And you can come to events, you can be educated firsthand. Our inbox is always open, and we do get really long emails of like, hey, this is what my child's going through, this is what my hair's going through, and we're able to offer advice that way. So I would say jump in, get a box, and immerse yourself in the community. And what I love the most about the Treasure Tress community is so many women have met at a Treasure Tress event and have developed independent friendships from it. So if you're like keen to meet new people, you want to explore and have more fun with your beauty, I would definitely say get a box.
Get a box, guys. You heard it. It's treasuretress.com. Is it .com?
TreasureTress.co.uk.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jamelia. It's been
Thank you for having me.
a pleasure speaking to you. You are so lovely. And yeah, I want to raid your hair care collection. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, I will you, honestly. Help me out. Let me know what you need.
Yeah, willingly, honestly. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hopefully I will see you in person soon, hopefully.
Yes, I will send you the info for next week. I'd love to have you join us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Pretty Pains. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you next time for another exciting conversation.